Hey everybody, it's John with Vermont Homesteader, and I was hoping to talk to you about a few things today. And the weather's changed, and it's now winter's coming. Winter's coming fast here in Vermont. So I'm going to get out and move some more manure. Did a short on that yesterday. That's how we fertilize the garden for next year. But today I wanted to talk to you about some things going on in the news that you're not going to hear very much on mainstream media. And the discussion revolves around BRICS. And I don't know if many of you know what that is. That is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They formed an economic coalition, I think it was back in 2011 or so, and it's been expanding. And the reason they formed the coalition was because of the US dollar and because of our debt. And what these countries saw was two things. One, they saw that the US was creating a debt crisis that it couldn't get its way out of. And secondly, they saw that the US was using the US dollar and the SWIFT system, which is the current money exchange system for the world, to punish other countries. So they decided to get together and slowly start forming their own money exchange system and eventually their own currency. And like I said, they saw the debt problem in the US, and I have some numbers for you. When Reagan left office, our debt was 2.8 trillion. That was 1989. When the Bush Sr. left office in 1993, there was 4.4 trillion. When Clinton left office, 5.8 trillion. When the Junior Bush left office, we jumped all the way up to 11.9 trillion, almost $12 trillion. So he increased it himself $6 trillion. When Obama left, we were at 20 trillion, so he increased it 8.1 trillion. When Trump left office, we were at 28 trillion. He increased to 8 trillion. And Biden has not left office yet, and we are at $35 trillion, 13 trillion, and we're adding about $1 trillion every quarter. So by the time he leaves office, we should be at about $36 trillion in debt, which is unsustainable. So there's a couple things I want to talk about concerning our debt. There's really only a couple ways that you get rid of it. You either pay it off, which our country seems to have no interest in doing because we just keep borrowing more money, when what we need to do is take the tax money we bring in, about $4 trillion a year, put a trillion and a half on it every year to pay down the debt, and figure out how to run our government with a lot less money, which means our government will have to necessarily get very, very small, which means we can't keep fighting wars all over the world. We can't be the big stick like we've been for the last 50, even longer than that. We're probably at 70 years now since World War II. So we need to change some things if we're going to pay off our debt correctly, just like you and I would pay off our debt. If we have debts, we take the money we have, we live on less, and we pay off our debts, especially if we're over debt. If we're not over debt, then we have budgeted and we live just fine off of what we have, and we can pay off our debts. But if we're over debt, then we have to live kind of poor for a while until we pay it off. But it looks like the House and the Senate and the presidency have no interest in doing that. They just want to spend. And there could be a couple reasons for that as well. Probably the biggest one is they know they can't pay it off. So you might as well keep printing it, might as well keep spending it into oblivion, and then you try and get rid of it. So if they're not going to get rid of it by paying it off properly, then they can default on it, which means our money will be worthless around the world, or you go to war. And the winner at the end of the war has their debt absolved. It's part of the peace agreement. You say, okay, we're not going to continue to attack you because we've defeated you, but those $3 trillion we owe you, they're gone. You're not getting them back. And it seems to me like that's the road they're taking us down. And the BRICS nations understand this on a financial standpoint and on a military standpoint. So they've created a new alliance. And what you're not hearing in the news is that they just had a BRICS meeting. And there's several new countries coming into BRICS. Egypt, they have oil. Iran, they have oil. Saudi Arabia, they have oil. And the United Arab Emirates, UAE, they have oil. And Ethiopia, because they have gold. They have lots of gold in Ethiopia. So the BRICS nations are developing a money transfer system and a new currency that's going to be commodity based, which means it's going to be based on gold, silver, palladium, platinum. It's going to be based on steel. It's going to be based on lumber. It's going to be based on grain. It's going to be based on commodities, things that are tangible and actually have value. Like we used to in the United States. Our economy used to run on coal, oil, steel, and we were a powerhouse because of it. And we created things. We created all the great bridges that we have in this country. We created all the high-rise buildings that we have in this country. We created the interstate system. We created great airports. We created a lot of stuff because we had a commodity-based economy. And now we don't. We have a service-based economy, which is based on nothing. It's fluff. Basically what it says is your economy is so good and your citizens buy so much stuff that the dollar is backed by that. But eventually that's going to break, and it is breaking at $35 trillion in debt. Ronald Reagan to now, 2.8 to 35 trillion. That's just enormous. It's more money than any of us can actually fathom. If you wrote the number out and then you look at your annual income, you'd be like, how do we spend that kind of money? And there's lots of reasons why we spend that kind of money. But those things need to end, like giving money to other countries, taking in people from other countries, especially through illegal immigration. We're all immigrants. My great-grandparents are immigrants. They came from Italy and Lithuania, but they came in the correct way. They went through the immigration system. It takes many years to become a U.S. citizen. And you become a U.S. citizen because you want to be an American. You want to be more American. By allowing 10 to 15 million illegals to come in, they're bringing their country with them. They're not necessarily coming here to become Americans. They're coming here for the money, the economy, whatever. And they bring their culture with them. And, my Italian grandparents, they brought their culture with them, but they worked very hard to become American. And then, on Saturdays or Sundays, the family would get together and be Italian for the day or two. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all celebrate our country. I used to play soccer when I was a kid at a German and a Polish club because they celebrated their heritage, and that's great, and that's fine in America, and I expect that we will all do that. You may learn your own native language, but out in public we speak English. When you're in private or you're talking to your older relatives, yeah, maybe you use the native language, but in America we speak English. We use miles instead of meters or kilometers. We're American, and people are supposed to come here because they want to take on American values. So back to BRICS and gold and the debt and silver. So quietly, the BRICS nations have been buying up gold, silver, oil, and they're creating this commodity-based system. At this most recent meeting that they're having now, they created a new money transfer system. And they're going to do it with a digital currency, and they're going to create a system opposite the SWIFT system, and they're going to compete with the SWIFT system. And there are many, many, many more countries that are very interested in becoming part of the new BRICS system. And what they're doing by making a commodity-backed currency is ultimately it's going to have more value than the US dollar. So between our debt, because we've overprinted money, we got into this problem because we've just been printing. And the more you print, the more inflation you get. Inflation is back up to 7%. And that's 7% under the new system. If you calculated it like they used to calculate it in the 80s, it'd probably be 20% inflation. And you see that. You see that in your food. You see that in items that you buy at the hardware store. You feel the actual inflation in your wallet. And the other great indicator of inflation is our gold and silver prices. Gold and silver currently are based on the US dollar. So if you go buy an ounce of gold, you will pay $2,700 for an ounce, a single ounce of gold. If you go buy a silver dollar today, you will pay $34 an ounce. 1 year ago, gold was $1,800 an ounce. $1,800 an ounce. 1 year ago was $900 less. It has gone up 33%. 1 year ago, silver was $22 an ounce. So it's gone up $12 an ounce in 1 year. So it too has gone up actually more than 33%. I don't know the exact percentage, but probably around 35-40%, somewhere in there. That means your dollar is valued at less. You need more dollars to buy that same ounce of gold or silver, 30+% more dollars to buy. That means your dollar is worth 30% plus or minus less than it was last year. That's why things cost more in the grocery store. And if you look in the grocery store, we're probably up 20-something% on groceries. Our dollar is being devalued. Our dollar is crashing. And the world knows it. And they're trying to create a new system sooner than later, so that they can get away from the dollar. They want to separate themselves from the US dollar. The US dollar has been the world reserve currency for 50 plus years. Some would say 50 to 70 years. And it's not going to be much longer. You know, our dollar may have some value here, but things will be very, very expensive. Unless we can pay off our debt and keep our dollar as the world reserve currency. But we're not working real hard to keep our dollar as the world reserve currency. And our politicians have put us in this position. They are to blame. And real common sense politicians who are not beholden to corporate interests need to get in office, need to not be bought and paid for, and need to get to the business of reducing our national debt, or we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So what to do about this for us common people? Because I don't have any standing in the House or the Senate. I'm not going to be president. Probably. I'm 56. I have no political ties to anybody of importance. I'm just a regular person. So what do you do? Well, a year ago, I would have told you to buy gold and silver. And I'd probably still tell you to buy silver. Gold's expensive. I mean, $2,700 for a gold 1 ounce coin. That's a lot of money. Most of us don't have that kind of money. Silver is $34 an ounce. Traditionally, silver is 1/15 of gold. So if gold is $2,700 an ounce right now, Silver should be $180 an ounce, but it's only $34 an ounce. And that's because it's artificially held down for many reasons that I'm not going to get into. Some of them would be silver is a great conductor. It's used in chip manufacturing and other electronics manufacturing. The wealthiest people in the world want to get as much as they can before the price shoots up. So, personally for me, I'm not a financial advisor, but I still buy silver. I think silver is a good buy, even at this high price of $34 an ounce. The highest record is $48 an ounce, which was the last time I sold my silver when it was at its high. Quite honestly, if it got to $48 an ounce now, I'd still hold it because I think it's going to go higher. I think when the dollar really, really starts to crash, you could easily see $100+ an ounce silver. So whatever silver I have, whatever silver I buy now, I'm going to keep doing it. And even if it doesn't, it holds its value. Silver is not going to go back down to $5-6 an ounce like it was in the 70s. It's just not gonna. The dollar is so devalued that it can't. It just can't. So on silver, at least, I don't think you're going to lose money, and you may very well gain quite a bit. What else do we do? As my channel says, we grow, hunt, and fish our food. Food security is one of the most important things you'll have. If you can't eat, you die. If you can't drink water, you die. So have a good amount of seeds. Buy your seeds ahead of time. As you buy organic heirloom seeds, because those seeds you can pull the seeds out of the vegetables that you grew this year, and you can replant those seeds the next year. And I do that. Not with all things. I mean, some seeds are just really hard to do. Broccoli seeds, very hard. But peppers, tomatoes, potatoes, things like that, you can pull all your squashes, your winter squash, your yellow squash, your zucchinis. You can dehydrate those seeds, get all the water out of them, and just store them. And you can replant them next year, and you're good to go. Things like lettuce, kale, broccoli, all the real little seeds, turnip, rutabaga, I just buy them, and I keep them at home. I keep them in store, and I always have seeds on hand. Grow your own food as much as you can. Hunt and fish your own food. We shoot a lot of deer. We eat venison. I don't grow chickens here, but I do go to a farm, the Tabor Ranch, in Randolph Center, Vermont. They do grow meat birds, and I buy them from them. Same thing with turkeys. There may be a day where I grow my own chickens again, my own meat birds, and I have my own egg layers in the way of chickens and start producing my own eggs again. But for now, I'm not doing that. Once I'm fully retired and I'm done mowing, I probably will have some meat and laying hens here. But until then, I'll keep buying them. But food security is important. Part of food security is water storage. Get 5-gallon containers. Fill them from your well. You can keep it at 6 months, a year, and then you dump them out, refill them, and just keep extra water on hand. Very important. If you have the funds, have equipment. I have a tractor. I have implements for the tractor. I also have a lot of hand tools. Hope the power never goes out. But if it does, I can still cut my own firewood by hand. Won't be much fun, but I'll lose a lot of weight. That's a benefit. And I'll have firewood. I'll have heat for the winter, which brings me to heat. Have a wood stove. Figure out how to pipe a wood stove into your existing chimney, or you can have somebody or learn how to cut a hole in the wall of your house and run a pipe out and up past the rooftop, and have a wood stove and have the ability to have wood heat. Oil Look at some of these BRICS countries: Saudi Arabia, Iran, United Arab Emirates, Egypt. They have oil. Russia, huge amount of oil. With the current war in Europe and the war in Israel, oil prices may spike. Propane may spike. Natural gas may spike. Russia is one of the biggest natural gas producers in the world. You need to be prepared to live with money that's not valued like it always has been in our lives. You need to be prepared to not have to need a lot of money. Pay off debt. If you don't have a secure job, if you have a job where you could get laid off, you don't want to have any debt, because whatever you owe the bank, they're going to come for it. Your house, your car, whatever. So pay off debt, food security, water, heat, a way to defend yourself and be proficient with that. You gotta wake up, and you gotta look around you and see that this is not the world of the 90s. This is not the world of the 70s or 80s. Things have definitely changed financially for the United States of America, and it's not good. And I just want to end with re-emphasizing, when Ronald Reagan left office, $2.8 trillion in debt. So just below $3 trillion. We are now at $35 trillion in debt. If that was me or you, we'd be bankrupt. The United States of America, the government of the United States of America, is not immune from going bankrupt. So you need to start thinking about being prepared. You don't have to do it all at once, but start today. Buy some gold or silver, depending on your income. Buy some equipment. Have extra food on hand. You should at least have a month's worth of food on hand, even if it's in boxed or canned goods. You want to try and limit yourself on frozen foods. If power goes out, and it's out for, let's say, the bad winter storm here, power's out for a week. Unless you have a way to generate power, everything in your fridges and freezers is going to go bad in a week. It'll be no good. You'll have to throw it out. So there are old school methods, and new school methods, and I can get into them one day. But it's best to dehydrate and use canning jars as much as possible for your food storage. And that's it. Just watch the news. Watch some news other than CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, all the mainstream media, even Fox. You gotta be careful there too. There are many, many other online news medias that you can pay attention to, and some of them will talk about these things that I've talked about today, like the BRICS nations, the new money transfer system that they're developing, and the new currency that they're trying to develop. Watch some of these programs, and you'll get some reality to the news that you're watching. And quite honestly, it's kind of scary that our dollar is not what it was worth 20, 30 years ago, that you're buying power. I mean, just look at the cost of homes. That's because of the money we printed. Look at the cost of vehicles. I was buying my last truck. I got it for like $26,000, $28,000. That truck today is like $60,000. It's an 8-year-old truck. It's doubled in price in 8 years. That's pretty insane. And I think if you're just a little awake, you'll realize that, and you'll see you have to figure out a way to use less money to live similarly to how you did before. And you can do that by growing, hunting, and fishing your own food, producing your own heat source, collecting water, having it on hand. If you live in an area where you have to pay for water, go find a spring someplace. Fill up jugs of water. Use that to drink and cook with. Use less water at your house. there's always a way to save some money, to use less dollars to survive, and to live happily. I mean, I heat with wood. It gives me the exercise of cutting it through the spring and summer. It gives me the exercise of bringing it in big armfuls of wood every day. And there's nothing like wood heat. It's better than any propane or oil heat I've ever had. It'll warm you right up, right to the bone. So do what you can. Do it slowly, in modest moves. Buy food, put up water, find a heat source outside oil or propane. If you can do something with power generation, whether it be solar. I know a guy down the road, he actually has a little hydro dam. There's ways you can generate electricity, heat pumps, whatever you can do to reduce the amount of things you have to buy from the system. Do whatever you can. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, and share, and come back and see us again. Vermont Homesteader.